Today I want to talk to you about the importance of ingenuity. We can do all kinds of little tutorial videos that train you on specific aspects of Prepsteading, and all that's well and good. But in the event that you were tested in a real scenario, you would need to rely heavily on your own ability to cope with all kinds of varieties of situations. So stay tuned as we talk about very specifically the importance of ingenuity. Among Prepsteaders, which include those who are preppers and survivalists as well as homesteaders, there's this very common saying that most of them know, and it goes like this. It says, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. What they mean by that is if you think that just having a plan A is going to be good enough for every scenario, you are sorely mistaken, because you know Murphy's Law, and that is something similar to the idea that if you have a plan, it's probably not going to work out exactly as you want it to. So having a plan A and a plan B is vital in any scenario. I would just tell you this. If 2 is 1 and 1 is none, then why not have at least 7 strategies for everything that's important? I want to name a few important areas that you need to be preparing, that you'll want to think of more than just 1 or 2 strategies. In fact, the more the better, that you can learn like the back of your hand, so that if you were in a very serious trial situation where you're running on pure adrenaline, or you're working against the clock with a flood that's rising or a cold front that's moving in and you've got to survive, you're going to be working on pure ingenuity at that point. And the things that you have learned that are plan A, B, C, and D, and E, and all the way down the alphabet, you're going to be so thankful for. So let's talk through just about 10 different things here. I want to just mention them where you might want to take the time to have at least 5 or 10 strategies of what you would do in each of these scenarios. The first one is fire. All of us figure that we're going to have matches, even waterproof matches for those of us who think we're extra prepared. Then there's the little Bic lighters that you might have as a plan B. But what if you don't have a plan A or a plan B? What if you had to go to plan C or D or E or F? Think of at least and practice so that you're prepared with at least, I'd say, 5 to 10 strategies for how to make fire in any scenario. Secondly, shelter. Now, if you're able to shelter in your home, man, that's great. But what if you're stuck in your car? What if you were out in the wilderness or in a city and you needed to make shelter? Come up with enough strategies that in whatever scenario you find yourself, you're able to make a shelter for yourself. Also, water. How to collect water, how to store water, how to sanitize water. You need to have at least 5 or 10 strategies for how to handle either collecting water, and all the different things that go with it. Also, food. If you only rely on the canned food in your storehouse and you're not with your little supply when something goes wrong, you're going to be very thankful for knowing how to do at least some minor foraging or other means of making food or collecting food. You've got to have some plan B, C, D, and E, and F on that too. Sanitization. Like, so many people, we rely so heavily on toilet paper. What if you didn't have access to more toilet paper? Okay, we can think, well, we'll use newspapers. Well, what about when those run out? Come up with at least 5 strategies of what you're going to do in the event that you need to have cleaning and sanitization going on in your environment around you in a bug-out situation. Also, how to travel. Yes, there's by car, there's on foot. Are there other strategies you need to think of? If by chance, say there was an EMP that rendered all of our vehicles useless, what are other means that you could prepare ahead of time for travel? For navigation, you need to know how to read a GPS, but you also need to know how to read maps, how to navigate by the stars, learning the constellations, learning how to use a compass. There are a lot of different strategies that might be important for you to have in your bag of tricks in the event that you needed to pull them out and use them in that moment. Escaping and evading. this is a whole skill in and of itself. And if you can learn multiple strategies for how to escape and evade those who might be after you in an emergency situation, you're going to be so thankful that you took the time on this end of things to learn, so that when you're tested, you have multiple ideas and strategies to employ in that moment. Also, defense strategies. I've put this nearly at the end of the list because defense is always a last resort, but you do need to know how to defend your home, your family, your own life. And so come up with multiple defense strategies. Whether you want to be one of those people that uses a gun or doesn't want to use a gun, that is totally fine. But have at least enough ideas and practiced strategies for defense that you're prepared in any situation. Lastly, but not leastly, I want to say spiritual psyche and mindset is of utmost importance when you are tested in some sort of a fallout situation or any kind of a scenario where you are tested past your point of exhaustion, or when you're trying to save your life. You need to have a clear mindset, a strong mindset, and a spiritual faith and strength that knows you're going to pull through to the other side. These are just 10 quick ways I've mentioned where you need to practice coming up with strategies that are beyond the little videos that you can watch on YouTube. Now, I want to show you just one small example. On YouTube, you've been taught, probably you can go watch the videos, how to make a fire with a 9-volt battery and steel wool, right? If you haven't watched the videos, go Google it. There's a million people out there, and probably myself will put one on the channel at some point in the future, of making a fire with a 9-volt battery and steel wool. And all you would do is take this little battery and rub it against the surface of the steel wool. It causes a little electric reaction and causes enough spark that if you have something available, it'll light it on fire. Now, that's a great little strategy to know. But what if you're in an urban environment with no matches and you do have access to a few things around you, but you don't have this kind of battery or this kind of steel wool? It's very possible that you don't. I want you to think of at least 14 different options that could be alternates to that. Say you have another kind of battery nearby, a car battery, a simple this is a AAA battery. Get a little bit of ingenuity going and think, okay, I don't have the 9-volt, but I do have this. Think of how you can find wire. All of us probably, if you're nearby, have a hanger. These can be used for a million different things, but that would just be one option. If you didn't have steel wool, hey, do you have a kitchen little scrubber under the sink that you could go get out that's all metal? That would work. Or what if you had some decorative wired ribbon that has the little wire in the sides? You could take that out. Or twisty ties off of or a bread thing. Even hair barrettes. These are little metal hair barrettes. If you had one of these in your hair, you could take out and use the metal on it. My point is just simply this. Learn how to rely on yourself, to think creatively, to have an imagination that thinks just beyond the simple strategies that you're taught in our videos and in all those that you see on YouTube. I also would just say the Crazy Russian Hacker, he has a great YouTube channel. He has all kinds of hacks that are great to learn for any scenario, whether you're in an emergency or not. And you might think, well, why would I ever need to use these? I'm just saying, when you're looking for 5 and 10 strategies to handle in any situation, you want to know a lot of different little hacks. So learn to think outside the box. Practice every chance you get. Okay, if I didn't have these ingredients that it calls for, what if I used this over here? Don't be afraid to fail. This is the time to do it. On this side of any kind of tragic situation where you're pushed to the metal to try and come up with something, go ahead and experiment. Pretend like you're back in 5th grade again and enjoy the process of learning how to think outside the box and try different ways of making things work. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. I hope that you go out this week and do some crazy little strategizing of your own. Let us know what you're trying and different ways that you're thinking outside of the box. We would love to hear from you. Take also the time to share this video with somebody else that it might help. Until we see you again, God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video. Hey, before you go, let me share a quick scripture with you. This is out of Proverbs chapter 22, verse number 3, and it says this: "The prudent will see danger and hide himself, but the simple, they go on and suffer for it." Now go spread the word.